Hello, everybody. I am Drew Duncan, and this is the Sync 57 Sports Show. Plenty to get to today. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the Chiefs and Niners. We're going to be discussing a little college football as well. TCU comes back and beats Kansas State with no Adrian Martinez. We're going to be talking about the Broncos and the Jets, etc. So let's get to it. All right. Chiefs Niners, boy. To me, just not an entertaining game of football to watch at all, really. I know for a while there the score was really close, but the end of the first half was just a sloppy succession. Sloppy. You had the fumble by Kansas City, followed by the interception by Frisco in the end zone. Just a nightmare. And just because the game is close doesn't mean that it's a good game. Kansas City ends up pulling away late. Christian McCaffrey with 49ers, I think played about as good as he could, given the situation, right? Probably just knows some basic plays. Obviously, Frisco predominantly, I think, using him more as a distraction, at least for the first week that they've got him, knowing that a big trade just happened. And, hey, whenever he's in there, what we are simply going to do is figure out what we can do to try and use him as a distraction, knowing that the defense is going to cave in on him a little bit, expecting, hey, we just got this guy. We're going to try and run the football with him. And he, like I said, he did pretty good given the situation. But just overall, not a very good game. Kansas City obviously pulls away with the win. They're still tops in the AFC West. But, man, if I'm a Kansas City fan, I'm watching that game thinking to myself, we played really good in the third quarter, into about mid of the fourth, but we got to figure out some other things, right? Special teams issue. Andy Reid football teams have a tendency to turn the football over. So there's that. Not a lot to say there. Kansas City ends up doing what they're supposed to do. They're a superior football team playing against the 49ers. Jimmy G just not good enough really to get it done against superior competition. They continue to struggle against Kansas City, and Frisco cannot beat KC even in their own backyard. Pretty simple. Kansas City still the team in the AFC, despite the Jets being, 5-2 now after a win over Denver. Speaking of which, didn't Rippon throw the football over 40 times in that football game? I think had the same QBR overall right now that Russell Wilson has. Also, he threw a pick. Denver only scored 9 points in that football game. And Rippon also had a fumble, which he was able to jump on. But I look at this and I think to myself, this is symptomatic of this Denver offense. Very symptomatic of the Denver offense. And what I don't understand is Denver having Russell Wilson throwing the ball 28 times, and Rippon comes in, and for whatever reason, they decide that they're going to throw it nearly 50 times against the Jets. Whatever, man. Do you see what we see now, or what I see? Do you see what I see now? I've been getting blasted by people, particularly on Facebook, who have been talking about, Russell this and Russell that and yada, yada. Are you seeing it now? How the offensive line just can't protect? How it's not all sack coverages? The drops? Even when he did have time, Denver's offense still anemic, can't get it done, can't finish drives. Doesn't matter who they play. Denver's offense is Denver's offense. This is not all on Russell Wilson. Rippon played about as good, I guess, as you could ask. A lot of people thought he was going to be the guy going into the season, obviously, until Denver, of course, made the blockbuster trade for Russell Wilson. But there are rumors right now that teams are coming for Jerry Jeudy and Bradley Chubb and a couple of others. And I got to tell you, I think that Denver is probably going to be in the same boat now that we're seeing with Carolina. Just going to make a lot of trades, try and get some draft picks, and decide to rebuild next season, obviously starting with the offensive line. That's how that's going to go. They are going to start with the offensive line. Terrible look for the Denver Broncos all the way around, and I believe that their season is done. An extra game is not going to mean anything. They are a 2-5 football team. They're not going to get any better. Wilson with the hamstring in his Wolverine blood or whatever the hell. Man, just stop it. Denver's done, and I guess we'll wait till next year. I just don't see them being able to do anything to turn this season around. This was their last glimmer of hope, beating the Jets. That was it. That was the last thing that was going to be able to keep them in it. 3-4, you still have a shot, even though you've got a lot of divisional games left. And the AFC West clearly being ran by the Chargers and Chiefs right now. It's over for Denver. The Bengals, who started out really horrendously, they're now above 500. They're 4-3. You've got the Baltimore Ravens that are hit and miss, but still, to me, far and away a lot better than the Denver Broncos are, especially Lamar Jackson playing out of his mind football. I just don't know where Denver even begins to fit in the playoff picture, even with an extra team in. Right? You got 7 teams now. I still just don't see it. So that's it. Their season is done. Rippon, Wilson, doesn't matter. You could plug and play just about anybody back there. Denver was not going to get Aaron Rodgers. I said that I don't know how many times. It was all a bargaining chip for Aaron Rodgers. They did not want to let him go. And nor do I think Aaron Rodgers wanted to be in Denver. And you see what's going on with Green Bay right now. So that wouldn't have mattered. So Denver's season is done. That's that. And I don't want to hear any more about Russell Wilson in really any kind of connotation, especially negative. I've been telling people while he is without blame, the offensive line, the most drops in the NFL, the most penalized offense in the NFL, the most penalized offensive line in the NFL. No, it's just not how you win games. The inability to score in the red zone, the fumbles, no. Come on. All right. Little college football, man. Quick recap again. Clemson ends up beating Syracuse. There is a quarterback controversy there. I talked about it on Saturday night where I made the comparison to what happened with Jalen Hurts and Tua. And I just see the same thing happening right now, obviously, in Clemson. Clemson turned the football over 4 times in that game. Syracuse unable to put it away. You force that many turnovers, you can't score off of them. You really don't deserve to win. You allow a team to hang in there. I equate it to, even though we're talking college and NFL difference, remember the NFC Championship game? Seattle turned the football over how many times? But Green Bay could not score. Same thing. And, of course, Seattle comes back in the last couple of minutes of that football game to get the win, which took them to the Super Bowl. The infamous Russell Wilson play on the goal line. Regardless, 3 chances by the offense. Because on one of the turnovers, Syracuse took it back for a touchdown, right? They recovered the fumble, took it back. That was the only time they scored off of a turnover. They just could not get it done. By the way, down 7-0, they end up scoring 21 unanswered points. You lead 21-10 going into halftime. You force 2 more turnovers into the second half. I know people are upset about that hit out of bounds on Schrader. But ultimately, if Syracuse handled business prior to that, because it was a bad call, okay, and I get it, but if Syracuse handled their business before that, that play doesn't even happen. I understand that the refs should not affect the football game, but Schrader still with a chance at the end of the game, and what does he do? He throws a pick. I said from the outset that I did not believe that he could beat Clemson with his arm, and he could not get it done. The proof was in the play calling. A lot of option plays designed purposely, especially in that first half. Schrader was 63 yards on the ground. in addition to 90 yards passing. They clearly wanted to rely on his legs. You could be upset with the play calling in terms of not giving the ball to Sean Tucker more. I get it. I would have liked to have seen it too, but Syracuse clearly aware that Clemson was going to key in on him, which I said, if you're Clemson, that's what you want to do. You want to force Syracuse to eventually try and beat you with Schrader's arm, and it wasn't going to happen. Syracuse did not deserve to win that football game, and that's why they lost. You don't get 4 turnovers, 3 offensive possessions extra, and not win the football game. They should have ran it or won it running away. Logically, they should have had 40-plus points in that game. So it is what it is. Moving on, Alabama. Boy, they really put a beat down on Mississippi State. I didn't see that coming. And for the longest, it was a shutout. I feel like Alabama showed a lot of class. I think they took it easy on Mississippi State, given the tragic situation with Westmoreland and his unexpected passing. I think Nick Saban showed a lot of class, understanding what that program is going through right now, what those players must be feeling emotionally going into that game, and really just letting off the gas. And I commend Saban for that. Mississippi State fighting through a lot of tragedy right now and just couldn't get their heads right, which is okay. You know, obviously they had some opportunities early in the game. I didn't mind them going for it on 4th and short, but I'm with Kirk Herbstreit, and I've said it over and over and over again. Quarterback sneak that thing, fullback up the middle, something simple, but trying to throw the football when you're literally inches away, I'm not really sure about that play call, but it is what it is. As a result, there's not a lot of change up, right, in terms of the top 10 football teams that are out there. Everybody pretty much maintain their position. So games going for the most part how we all expected. I really thought K-State was going to beat TCU. Hats off, TCU gets down in that football game. They come back. Kansas State in a similar boat. They do everything they need to in the first half of that game. Scoreless in the second half. Same boat as Syracuse. Just could not put the game away. Now, I understand Martinez got hurt and couldn't come back into the game. Backup did about as good as you can ask. And Deuce Vaughn really showed why he is one of, if not the premier running back in all of college football. But TCU, you got to give them credit. They did exactly what they need to do to win that football game, and they maintain hope now in the Big 12. They also keep their CFP hopes alive. Do I think, though, that they could contend with a Georgia or Tennessee or Bama? And to be honest with you, no. I really don't think so. Ole Miss gets snuffed out by LSU. I know a lot of LSU fans are going, hey, everybody wrote us off and yada, yada. Look, man, I said that I really didn't think Ole Miss was that good to begin with. Lane Kiffin has a tendency to flutter in these situations, and that's exactly what happened. I don't think it has anything to do with the players at Ole Miss. I think it has everything to do with the coaching that is at Ole Miss. And Lane Kiffin's ego hasn't changed much at all. But, he is who he is, and it is what it is. But, to be a coach, you got to have a little bit of an ego. It's about like playing quarterback, because you're going to get all the criticism in the world. When your team is winning, you're going to get a lot of the credit. When the team is losing, you're going to get a lot of the credit. So it's always the coach's job that is on the line first and foremost above anybody. And then, of course, after that, the favorite player on just about any team with a losing record is the backup quarterback. So it is what it is. Ole Miss just not that good. Couldn't get it done. And I anticipate probably another loss or two from Ole Miss. Just being honest with you. They could win a big game here or there, but I just don't really see them doing much in terms of making a run in the college football playoff landscape. And, of course, you had Oklahoma State. Wow. They got away, didn't they? And I suppose when all is said and done, that is about all you can ask for at this point. just about it, right? They beat Texas, not running away. They do just enough in that football game. And Texas obviously now completely out of the conversation in the Big 12. Oklahoma State with the win still maintains a chance. Then, of course, there was Oregon and UCLA. Nothing happened there that I didn't think was going to happen. Again, I said DTR is a hell of a quarterback at UCLA. And Chip Kelly's play calling, as I have discussed over and over and over again, before the guys talked about it on College Game Day, is a power run offense structure. They just spread you out to deceive you in it. And he didn't do anything creative or innovative in that football game. They ran up some points, but a Chip Kelly football team is going to score, especially at the collegiate level. Oregon is on a roll right now, and I didn't believe that UCLA had played anybody of significance really coming into the game. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, Utah. Well, again, Utah got beat by Florida. Oregon got beat by Georgia. To me, what needed to happen was you would have to see UCLA beat a team that has already been beaten by an SEC team if they really want to be able to maintain their chance of going for CFP. I don't believe that a one-loss Pac-12 champion gets into the college football playoff this year. If all hell breaks loose and Bama, Tennessee, and Georgia all end up with one loss, I guarantee you all three of those teams will be in the top four, and a one-loss Pac-12 football team will be left out against probably Clemson, who, again, I don't think that Wake Forest or North Carolina, clearly Syracuse now, can compete with Clemson in the ACC. But then again, I don't think that Clemson can compete with any of the teams in the SEC right now. I don't think TCU could. But if you're an Oregon fan right now, you are begging for TCU to slip up. You are begging for Clemson to slip up. And I think, honestly, when all is said and done, if you're an Oregon fan, you need all of those teams to win or to lose more than one game. Because of what happened with Georgia, I know that people say, well, that was the beginning of the season. And look, man, if it would have been a close game, I don't think it would have mattered as much. But a blowout, that's going to be difficult to overcome even later on when hairs are going to get split. Kind of all there is to it. You may not like it, but that is the way that it is. And USC not being able to handle business against Utah in that second half, right? So, again, when you look at it top to bottom, I don't even think a one-loss USC team gets in. Not a one-loss UCLA, not a one-loss Oregon. It just does not happen. So there's that. Obviously, the NBA happening right now. Tonight, a little bit more of the same. Pacers and Sixers, Raptors and Heat, Magic and the Knicks, Celtics, Bulls. That actually could end up being a pretty good game. And then, of course, the other night, man, hard fall. People are, Zion's made of glass and he's so soft. Dude, you be that big and then you fall directly on your back on a hardwood floor and tell me how you feel in the morning. Seriously. Let's just get that out of the way right now. All right? It's not about being an apologist. That was a hard fall. What looked to be the lower part of the spine. That was not user-friendly, amigo. Seriously. So we'll see. And honestly, it's sad because Zion was playing good basketball to start the season. Whole year of his career lost. He comes in flying completely under the radar and starts playing really good basketball. and then this happens. I just don't understand our society now, man. I guess, not everything is an equal opportunity employer situation. All right, we don't just need to go after anyone and everyone just because we think we're being clever or whatever on the internet, man. It's annoying. Seriously, that was a hard fall. And the fact that we seem to relish in failures, and not just failures, but injuries, like we're okay with that now. Good grief. Grow up. All right, so that's that. Denver was no better with Rippon. The 49ers win a sloppy game against Frisco, but they get it done. I guess, win's a win, especially running away. They end up basically in the blowout. Syracuse, you turn it over that many times, you can't put the points on the board. You allow a team to hang around, you don't deserve to win. Dino, ill-prepared for situations like this again. Blew a lead against LSU, blew a lead before against Clemson. More of the same from Dino Babers. Though I do love him. He really is a good ball coach. But still clearly just learning in some other facets of the game. TCU, they get it done. There's still hope for them in the CFP. UCLA, they're done. And I'm telling you right now, a one-loss Pac-12 team is rooting for Clemson and TCU to not lose just one game, but to lose multiple games. They need ACC and Big 12 champions to have multiple losses. Because right now, Ohio State and Michigan over there, everybody's obviously waiting for that game to happen. Penn State in a runaway win over Minnesota, but I just don't think that come, November when they face Ohio State, it's really going to matter all that much. They need Big 10, ACC, and Big 12 champions to all have multiple losses, and I just don't see it happening. The one-loss Pac-12 champion is not getting in with 4 teams. It's not going to happen, especially 3 one-loss SEC teams in Tennessee, Bama, and Georgia, if that ends up being the case. Will not happen under any circumstance. Sorry, it's not that I like it. It's the way that it is. Get off of Zion. Hell of a fall. Obviously, we'll see what happens going forward, but I hope he's okay. Stop thinking everything is a need-to-be-funny situation, because it's not. And it just shows your maturity level. Seriously. All right, everybody, I am Drew Duncan. This is the Sing 57 Sports Show. Do not forget, we are wherever you're listening to podcasts. You can find us on Google Podcasts, iHeart, iTunes, Spreaker, etc., etc. We are just about wherever you are listening to podcasts. And as always, stay safe. Take care of yourselves.